Hi everybody, this is Cindy from Ideas Times 2. Welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to deviate from my obsession with file folders and do something a little different. And you maybe have seen these before, and I saw this idea over 2 years ago. I believe it was on the channel May Made It, and I will put a link to her channel below. And they're just little traveler's notebooks, and it's a good way to use up your stash. They have 3 signatures on the inside and are super easy to make, almost embarrassingly easy to make, and take very little time. But they make great gifts, and it's the end of the school year, so if you are looking for ideas for maybe teacher gifts or graduation gifts, these are fun, and they're just a really good size to stick in backpacks or book bags or pocket books. So I thought we would make one of these today. So let me put those off to the side, and I will show you what you need. So I have a couple of sheets. You'll need 3 pieces of, well, maybe 2. If it can be done with just 2 sheets of cardstock, and you'll want cardstock, and I'm using double-sided, although you don't need double-sided. I am going to use double-sided today. And this, if you haven't seen this paper yet, this is from Graphic 45. It's one of their new patterns. I got this from my sister a couple of weeks ago, and it is amazing. I love it. And so I'm going to be making just a quick and easy bee journal today. So you'll need 2 pieces or whatever scraps you have of cardstock. Doesn't have to be double-sided, but for the cover, double-sided is probably a little more fun. You'll also need some little notebooks, and I got these at the Dollar Tree, and I have not had luck the last while finding them, but they're 3 for $1, and they come in different prints, and they're nothing special. But since I've had trouble finding them, I also have, as an alternative, these little notebooks that I got from Amazon. And I will put a link for these also down in the description. And if you are looking, these are 6 inches by 4 inches. So 6 by 4. These are a little smaller at 5.5 by 4 1/4. So not quite the same size, but they still work fine inside the little wallet. So, and then here's the wallet. And I don't know if you can see, this is just a vinyl, and it's got 2 sleeves. And I got this at clear bags, and unfortunately you have to buy them in bulk. I bought a box and shared them with my sister, and we both have been working our way through our stash. But they're not expensive if you can find somebody to share them with. But if you are doing any craft shows and you need to make in bulk, I think this is a pretty good investment. So that's basically what you need. Glue, some notebooks, some paper, and this little sleeve. And I took all of my bookbinding stuff to school because I've been binding children's books with my students, and I just realized that I am missing everything. So if you hang on just a second, I need to grab some glue. So I will be right back. All right, so it's a good thing I had an extra glue because I have my glue bottle at school. but my awl and my needles and all of that stuff is at school. But luckily, I don't need any of that for this project. So I started filming this yesterday, and then the power went out, and it's been for such a simple project, I have had a hard time getting this video made. All right, so for your cover, let's start with the cover. And I think I want this for the cover. I think this is such a striking pattern. You will need a piece of cardstock, either double-sided, or you can make it double-sided by gluing two pieces together, or you know, if you want it white, that's fine. But for the cover, you will need one piece that is 6 inches tall by 9 3/4 inches wide. So I'm going to cut my 6 inches first. And put that to the side. And then it needs to be 9 3/4 inches wide. And I think I want to center this on the front, so I'm going to cut this side off. So that was 9 3/4, which is right there. And you want to hang on to these. They make great tags and cards, journaling cards. So I'm going to put this off to the side, and then that should leave me with a piece that is 6 by 12. And you will need 3 pieces of 6 by 12 paper. So that's 1. And for this one, I probably will have it going this direction just so that it's different from the cover. But I just love this paper so much. I hate to cover it up. And I have this other beautiful pattern. And trim off the top there and cut at the 6. And that's all you need your paper cutter for, so I'm going to put that away and put those off to the side. So this will be our cover, and I'm going to grab my scoreboard, and I need to score this at 4 1/2, 4 7/8. That's just 1 notch over from the 5. And again at 5 1/4. So I'll repeat that. Score at 4 1/2, 4 7/8, and 5 1/4. And that's the only thing you need your scoreboard for, so I'm going to go ahead and put that away. I'm also going to grab my corner rounder and round the 4 corners. And I'm going to fold it on all 3 of the score marks. And this will be the front cover or back cover. This is the front cover. And if you want to, you know, depending on the paper you have, I think this paper is just too beautiful. I don't want to cover it, so I'm not going to put anything on the cover. Maybe a label or something up here, but this is just too pretty to cover. So I'm going to put this in the sleeve. And the way I do this is to fold the sleeve in half. The wallet is, it's called a wallet on clearbags.com. and I generally fold it in half with the pockets facing up, and then with the outside facing out, I fold this also and just slip it in kind of both pockets simultaneously, maybe. And it fits perfectly in there, so I'm going to grab my bone folder and really press it down on the two folds, the outside, the scores, the outside scores. So that's got a nice crisp cover fold there. So the next thing you need is, oh, I forgot the elastic to tell you. You needed elastic, and so on here you can see, get that real close, it's got just 3 holes down here on the bottom, 3 holes up on the top, and then 1 in the middle for the closure. So I'm going to grab my, and I didn't measure the elastic. I don't remember how much that is, but we'll measure it as we go here. That to the side, and I'm going to use the small hole, and I'm going to actually punch pretty close to the edge of the paper, and I'm not going to use any I'm not going to put any, I was going to call them brads, I know they're not called brads, here in the edges. It's, the elastic is, okay, so I am going to be using this elastic, 1.2 millimeter elastic, and did I say milliliter? Millimeter elastic, and I am going to need about 4 lengths of the height of the book, which this one is 6 inches, so it's 24 altogether, and I'll just do a 2, 3, 4. I always err on the side, try to err anyway, on the side of having too much. And I'm going to start on the bottom left, and I'm just going to weave this through. So I'm going to start on the inside, just taking the end and running it through and holding it with my finger so I don't accidentally pull it through. And then up through the top left. And then through the middle and down through the middle. Over to the far right bottom and up through the top right hole, and then I'm going to take it back through the middle hole and come back down, and the bottom, the other end I'm going to put through the middle hole on the bottom. And I don't want them too tight or too loose. And I'm going to tie them in a knot. cut off the excess, well, some of the excess, but I'm going to leave it just in case I need to loosen it or tighten it. But I think it's pretty good. So that's the basics for the cover. I'm going to put the closure on last, but pretty simple, right? And super cute. Now for the inside, you're going to need your 3 notebooks. You can, if you can't find them or you would prefer to sew your own, that is awesome too. These are 4 by 6, and the other little ones I showed you were 5.5 by 4 1/4. So a little smaller, but they still fit inside really well. And these were from Amazon, and these were from the Dollar Tree, just to reiterate. All right, so I'm going to use these 3 pieces so I don't have any wastage, but I'm going to do the different patterns so that it's all as varied as possible. And so what you need to do is, now I don't fold these, but I do kinda, do that so I can see where the middle is. And then we're going to glue the paper, and don't cut this off. You don't want to cut that off. We're going to fold that in and make pockets. And I generally put a fair amount of glue, and I'm using Fabri-Tac because that's what I have handy. You can use whatever you have, have handy. And so I always start with a pretty generous amount of glue on the spine, and then I put the glue on the notebook rather than the paper, because we don't want all of the paper to get covered with glue. You want to make sure that you leave those pockets. But you need to be pretty close to the edge. And one reason I like Fabri-Tac is that you can move it. It doesn't dry so fast that you can't move it to make sure your edges are even. Then I'll flip it to the other side, put a little bit more glue on that fold. And fold it over. And if you need to, move things a little bit, you want to make sure that that ugly cover is completely covered. If any glue gets out, that's okay. I have a little bit of seepage. Okay, you want to make sure it is pressed down pretty well so you don't have any puckers or gaps. Make sure that glue, I try to wipe any excess glue off so it doesn't get on the pages, notebook pages. And I think that looks pretty good. So this is what you should have at this stage. And then you're going to, whoops, my paper slid a little bit. Fold these edges over. to make pockets. Grab my bone folder. And I usually fold both sides before I glue, just to make sure if I have to do any, you know, any moving of the paper before I glue them down, that it's good. And then just a bead of glue on each side. And just like, you know, just like with the cover, make sure there's no seepage. And if you want to, before you glue it down, you might want to put notches. And let's see, I'm going to grab a punch so you can see what that looks like. Make that a little deeper. Just a little notch. I'd be consistent on both sides, so I'll go ahead, even though I've already glued it. But that's okay. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't put notches. But I do like the notches. I think it looks a little more finished. So, the cover, the notebook cover had rounded edges, so I'm going to use my corner rounder and round the paper. Maybe. There we go. I don't know why that one was so stubborn. And there we have our little notebook. If you want to decorate the covers, that is awesome. If you don't, that's awesome too. And then that can slide right in here like this. And there's our first notebook. Although I think I'm going to put that one in the middle so we don't have the reds next to each other. I think that'll be better when I get the other two notebooks done. So if you would excuse me for a second, I'm going to go ahead and do the last two notebooks, and I'll be right back. All right, so I am back and took a couple of minutes, literally, just to cover the other two notebooks, and around the corners, they both have pockets, and I notched them like I did the other one, the first one we did. Oops, a little glue on there. That's not a biggie though. And I'll go ahead and put them in here. And I had originally said I was going to use the reverse of this one, which is the same as this. But you know, that is just too pretty. I couldn't cover it up. So I'm going to slip this in here in the front. There's our middle. And I'll put this one in the back, this sunny yellow. How pretty is that? And then for the cover, I'm just going to use the same elastic that I used for the inside. And I'm not sure how many inches that was that I just cut off. 14, 13, and I've already I'll put the hole here on the side. So I'm going to tie this in a knot. I don't know, I always do it this way, where I tie the knot and then I take the looped end and push it through the hole. And I don't know if I'm the only one who does it that way, but I also usually don't have the journals in there when I do that, but make sure it's not too tight or too loose. Perfect. And the ends were a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that just a hair. Make sure that knot's tight. It felt a little loose. So that's the basic journal. Now, only thing left to do is maybe put some things in the pockets and maybe embellish it a little bit. So I brought over some crinkle ribbon, and I have tons of colors. We have a bunch of different colors in the shop, and I thought this was black, but it's not. It's navy. Now that I look at the label, it's navy. But I do have the red, and I like the red with this, and so I was going to use both colors, but for the sake of the video, rather than turning it off again, I'm going to just cut some lengths and put it on tight to the elastic. Maybe it's hard to tie stuff when your fingers are gluey. It's kind of a bit of a menace today with the glue bottle. I hope everybody's doing well. Getting close to the end of the school year. If you have kids, I hope you have fun plans for the summer. Kids deserve a break this year. So just a few crinkle ribbons. When I find the black, or maybe some yellow, I will add that, maybe some colors to that. So that's just for fun. I also have a giant paper clip, and I think I will add some, where's the end? I know there are two of them. So add some crinkle ribbon to that. You know, if you are more into vintage, more into the junk journal style, which I normally am, but I like to mix things up once in a while with little projects like this. You could easily do this in more of a vintage junk journal style, especially if you make your own notebooks, your own signatures for the inside. Okay, and I'm going to add this, just stick it in here. So I've got something fun sticking out of the top. And I have these fun little binder clips with that pretty yellow. I think I will use one of those. And these make great pen holders too. If you stick it on the side, you can slip a pen, the top of a pen. Whoops. Top of the pen can slip through. Whoops. Well, I've done this before. I do this in my own notebooks. It's cool. Like that. So I think I'll have that there for a pen holder. Not with this pen, obviously. I'll grab one that actually coordinates. And so that's the basics. And I don't want to hold you while I spend some time with more embellishments. But I think I might add something dangly to the side, like I did on this one. I have some charms on here, and the Christmas one, or winter one, it's not Christmas really. The winter one I have here has a little jingle bell and a snowflake. So I think this deserves something on the side as well, and I'm going to take a few minutes and do some extra embellishing on that. But you don't need to watch me do that. I hope that you enjoy this little project. You could easily do one of these in 25-30 minutes, start to finish. And I will have the links below for clearbags.com, where I got the little wallet, and the link to our shop where we have crinkle ribbon, and with Amazon to where you can get some little notebooks. So I think that's it for today. Another quick and easy project. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you join us again for another tutorial or flip through later this week. So have a good afternoon, everybody, and stay safe if you are in the Virginia Eastern Seaboard area, where we are supposed to have nasty weather tonight. And I will see you later, everybody. Bye-bye.